Welcome back to the channel, you guys. This is your girl, Wicked Raider, and I wanted to address a question or a request that I've received from the channel before. And so it really gives me an opportunity to kind of look at my champions in a different type of way. So, one question that I got was, which faction have you struggled with the most so far in the game? And it wasn't hard for me to answer this one. And I don't know why, but for some reason, one of the things or one of the factions I've struggled with has been Knights Revenant. I don't pull a lot of champions that fall under this faction. I don't know why. And on this particular account, which this is my one of my accounts I started last fall, a couple of months in, just to kind of see what it was like to pull other champions and take different risk. I do have Golden Reaper. I've talked about this particular champion before, but the champion I want to talk about today is one that many of you guys, many of you, and let me hide this, have pulled before. Thurgist is one of those champions. If you are in a situation where you're in need of a support champion, because you'll notice she only has 196 reviews. If you have not pulled a reviver, if you have not pulled a really strong reviver or a shield type champion where you have a real need. This is one of those champions that can definitely slide into that need until you're able to pull better. She doesn't necessarily require books in order to do really what you need her to do. And I'll show you the difference. I'll run her both ways. And I'll talk about that one in just a second. But let's look at the reviews. Now, Thurgis is one of those when it comes to champions in general. Her, as you can see, pretty solid on fours, except when it comes to certain dungeons, which I normally don't run these champions in particular dungeons, but there are a couple of tournaments where it is nice to, number one, have champions in each particular faction that can serve different purposes. It's hard to know which support champions should fall into those categories. Every situation, even last year, they did a tournament where you had to specifically use champions from, particular factions. And I really enjoyed it, to be honest. It was a little different. It really made me think. And I realized that there are certain factions that I have maybe one champion, maybe one. Or there are certain factions where I may have several champions, but they're all like still 3-star, not built out, just kind of sitting there. And so there's a tendency for us to migrate toward certain champions on purpose. It just makes it a lot easier for us. But when it comes to support, you've got to be mindful. In certain factions, guys, you may only have one or two options at each level in that group, or sometimes you'll have like two or three support champions, just a handful of support champions you can realistically get your hands on per faction. That's a big one. It's one thing to have a lot of power, but it's another thing when I can kind of, help defend that and prolong my ability to perform. So for this particular champion, and we're looking at those level 60ness. Not really heavy on books. And keep in mind, this is a rare champion. So starts with Ice Debris, attacks one enemy, fills the turn meter for a random ally by 10%. The randomness and the percentage are not impressive. The amount of damage will be attack based and can be increased by 20% if booked. Ice Debris is not going to be the skill that is going to bring you to this particular champion. So let's come here. Touch of Ceiling attacks one enemy, has a 75% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for one turn. So the attack one enemy is one of those you wish it was more. But the fact that there is a 75% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for one turn is helpful. And what this does, when you bring it down to a 3-turn cooldown, you're able to give yourself a bit more protection. You're able to increase your level of resistance to having whatever tossed on you. And guys, when you're first starting out and you start getting to those areas in campaign, for example, that seem really difficult, pay attention to what attacks your teams are coming in contact with. Are we doing more, poison? Are we doing stuns? Are we doing sleep? There are so many things. You have certain, enemies that are doing provoke. What are they doing and what can you do to counter that attack? And you're going to spend a lot more time the more you invest yourself within this game thinking about that type of strategy. That allows you to build stronger teams. Now, notice that you are acquiring 5 books for this particular skill. So we're up to about 9 books, I think. Yeah, looking at that first one and second one. So we're at 9 books, about average. Damage can be increased by 10%. That buff debuff chance can be increased by 25%. So you would have a 100% chance of placing a block buffs debuff for 1 turn. So every 3 turns, if you get to the cooldown, you are placing this on yourself. So every other turn, boom, you're replacing it. You would do, wow, so well. Like that guys, every 3rd turn, there's such a good window depending on the type of champion. But that creates a little niche, and that depends on who else have you pulled so far. You will be amazed for everyone who only has 1 account, how different your accounts are. Even if you start them at on the same day, one after the other, the champions that your accounts encounter can be, you know, really 80% different beyond our starting champions, our login champions, and those that you can get. Everyone has the ability to get through like fragments or whatever, but through random pools, it creates diversity like no other. So second skill, okay, I like the fact that you have that block buffs. But here we go. Uplift, which is places a 30% increased defense buff and a 25% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. This can also be placed on a 3-turn cooldown. So you have the increased attack, the increased defense. The block buffs is also going to be thrown with a little attack from them, and then a little turn meter manipulation. It's all the weak versions. There is a passive, increases ally, there's an aura, increases ally resistance and faction crypts by 30. Not bad for a rare champion. And that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. Your level of gameplay, your preference for champions, when you are a level 20 and 30 player, will be completely different than it will be when you are a level 40, 50, 60 player, compared to someone who's probably at level 100. As someone who has a level 60 account, looking at what I do at my level 60 account is completely different than looking at my level 42 account. And honestly, you go so much quicker every time you end up creating a new account. It's like you go faster and faster. There are so many ways for you to maximize and switch up what you do. But it's all about how attached you end up becoming to particular champions. This is a champion looking at HP overall. The speed is at 103. So, just thinking about stats in general, not a bad start. If you come out and look at the faction in general, and let's start at the bottom, and we are looking for support champions. Herald is support, so that gives you 1. Renegade, most of us pull really often. I have only held on to this champion for an extremely short amount of time. And usually the reason is you pull her so often, but I know there are situations that she is extremely solid. And I've heard that about this champion before. Guys, don't sleep on a champion just because they're a rare. So Renegade is definitely one I will certainly take a deeper look at. To be honest, Centurion is another one. It's very, very niche, very niche. But With him, it's pretty niche, but we can go back to that one. So we're up to two. If we count Renegade as well. Thurgis will give you three. You will pull Arcanist several times. You have Acolyte. Um, I can't. I really can't. Arcanist, I can, pretend to deal with, but this guy is like a absolute no. I feel like I've wasted my time. The likelihood of seeing these others, I have pulled Lady Irish before, on another account, and Berghoff, to be honest. But you have Rector Drop. I wish. This is a wish for support. So 5, 6, 7. 8 with Pestilence, really good one. 9, Doom Priest. And when we come here, 10, ooh, you wish, 11, and 12. So 12 for all levels. I have, in my time so far, not pulled anyone. I haven't pulled a single legendary in this category. I have only pulled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I pulled 7 of the epics total. And when I'm thinking about it, I'm looking at, just, sometimes you kind of look at champions and you wonder, if I was to pull that champion at this point, would I be as excited about that champion, and would I keep that champion? Thurgis is a champion that you will easily grow out of. So would I book her? No. It's not going to be a race to 6-starring this champion. Can you easily run her on a team in a support position and quickly probably 5-star her? Absolutely. I have 5-starred her on several occasions. I have one account where I think I'm going to keep her. And if I do keep her, I will 6-star her because I'm going to keep her. And my goal, honestly, is to have one copy of every champion in the game. I think that this would be pretty awesome in general. But right now, I'm still having to sacrifice people. So, because Executioner is another one you hear so much about as a rare. But these are kind of the champions that you want to keep your eye on. One more before we go, and this one is again coming from another faction in which I struggle, which is Lizardmen. Lizardmen is one of those you are going to pull these guys eventually. Eventually. Notice that term I use. So far, I have had no experience with any of the legendaries, not a single one. You will notice that in the epic, Rodmaw is one of those. Is he the one of these guys? Is the fragment? But I've had Drake before. Aox is another one. I've heard a lot about Basilic. I've had, but did not hold on to. These are the ones that you pulled and you don't know why. But in this video, I want to come in and talk about this uncommon champion really quickly. Really, really quickly. Guys, 2,700 reviews. Oh, you guys go for my boy. Y'all kill for him. No. He is so limited. I feel it though. I feel it. Let me just sneak this one in. And you're gonna hear about him. There have got to be. I've seen videos here and there that kind of slide Saurus in. Saurus is an uncommon champion that I put right with Shield Guard, with Armiger. My third place behind those two, honestly, just in that category of pure, I can get out here and do a little damage. It's gonna be Saurus. Guys, there's one reason why I like this guy. A couple of reasons, to be honest, but boom, Wind Cutter attacks all enemies. Hands down, damage can be increased by 25%. Attack-based champion, off the charts, boom, done. Second one, attacks all enemies 2 times, boom. Each of his skills is an AoE attack. There are a handful of champions that have this, and this guy damage can be increased by 10%, and this can be placed on a 3-turn cooldown. Every time my boy hits, he can hit everyone. And I thought about it the other day. If you put him in a stun set, think about it. What y'all think about that? If you put him in, I try to add speed to everything my guy does. If you put him in a um mm, even one counterattack. Like I would love to see that one. I would like to see necessarily fear, but if you could add a little turn meter manipulation to my boy, oh my gosh. There's so many ways to use him, and he's really good for progression. If I am running pure food, like if I'm absolutely running pure food, this guy can be so helpful. I did notice like the first 3 areas he's highest in are the first 3 that came to my mind. In faction wars, he is a lifesaver. Like he's awesome. Just with progression, period. Campaigns is another one. That AoE on first and second skill, y'all. You cannot go wrong. Spider's Den is another one. This is an uncommon champion. Like hands down uncommon champion. And the thing is, you can get him from Godfrey's Crossing. You can't beat that. You're going to book this champion out completely, which won't take very much. 4 books for that first skill, 3 for the second, 7 books is all you need, and your SARS is done. The downfall with my boy, of course, he's an uncommon champion. So bless his little heart. Bless his heart. You want to do all you can. I have even brought myself to the point um, of just maxing him out across the board. Don't sleep on Soros, guys. Don't. One of the easiest champions. You can purchase dupes of him in the market. If you're just, out there with a little silver to kill, you can get access to this guy, and he is more than worth upgrading as well. So I just wanted to put that one out there. Thurgist and Asaris are going to be my 2 of the day, 2 champions that we run into that we should probably take a little look at depending on where you are in the game. Remember at all times, guys, any opinion given on this channel is truly based on where I am, where I can recall being, and where the growth starts. Like you've got to start somewhere. And so what you run into most often, learn to use it. And hey, eventually it can definitely come in handy. If you don't have a clan, check us out, 22WK. We definitely have slots available. Clan v Clan is coming up soon. And as always, happy gaming.